So hi guys, Exxon is back in this new year for new videos, and one of the things I want us to discuss today, check out what each team need to do to make 2025 a great year for them. We remember Red Bull started on a better note last year. They were the car to beat. Suddenly by Miami we had McLaren surging up. We know McLaren had been trying their best since 2023, and 2024 was their year. They surged up and they became a car to catch. Ferrari too came up, but Mercedes were the most imbalanced team. Alpine got better, Sauber got better, at least they got 4 points all through the season. Williams were a little bit better. Haas too got some improvement immediately after the season, and all through the season they were outstanding. I'll give it to us in so many ways, but let's start from the big team now, which is Red Bull. What do Red Bull need to do? Red Bull from Azerbaijan, they struggled, but it was more prominent in Azerbaijan. Before Azerbaijan, we saw Red Bull struggling in China, and in Azerbaijan it was evident. And I think one of the things Red Bull didn't do was to look at what really happened between Carlos Sainz and Sergio Perez. That would have been what they would have been able to use to gear up Sergio Perez, or to bring him back into that form that left him, because he was totally left out from that form, because he was really doing well until the accident that happened between himself and Carlos Sainz. And when that happened, he lost it. He was just off. Doing well, I mean, he was not really doing well, but at least to that point, it was still on a pie. He was still delivering some goodies. But when the accident happened, he just flattened out. He was totally out. He was no more performing. He was no more there. With Liam Lawson in now, what do they need to do? One of the things they need to do is the aerodynamics of the car. The aerodynamics is wish-wash. From the moment they thought they improved the car, they deproved that car. The car was totally deproved. The aerodynamics was not there, and that car went down the line, and that car was no more performing. So one of the things they need to do, the aerodynamics, the engine looks good. They didn't have much engine change during the season, and it was not really damaging for them until they had that issue. And I said it earlier in the year that if Red Bull comes up with a design that didn't really work for them, they will start having to change engine. And that happened with Max Verstappen. They changed, like, I think they used about 7 engines during the season, which is unlike them in 2022 season and 2023 season. But 2024 season was difficult for them when the aerodynamics of the car was no more there. They were pushing the car to the extreme. They were using their engine up. They were pushing the engine so much that it was not really giving them the performance I believe they should have had. I think the first thing Red Bull need to do is to work on the aerodynamics. They now have much time with their CFD, and also they've built a new state-of-art wind tunnel that will help them and their sister team to develop. So they should be able to learn from the wind tunnel and get the right aerodynamics. Then the front wings, all this complaint about McLaren using flexing wings at the front and Mercedes and at the rear mini DRS, I think that should not be the same case this year. So I think they need to work on the aerodynamics. Now they have a new wind tunnel, so that should help them. Let me move to McLaren. McLaren was outstandingly, to me, the best team. At the point they were just there, as in nobody can catch up with them. So with that being said, what do they need to do? They don't need to rest on their horse. They need to improve from where they stopped. They need to get better. They need to improve the car. They said they're coming with a new design, and if you look at the MCL 35 that they used last year, it looks cool, but I think they still had a lot of instabilities, especially in some tracks. The car looks a little bit slower. Tracks like when they got to Los Angeles, they were unable to perform up to expectation. In Qatar, they were not really there, unlike 2023. With the car we saw them coming with from the middle of the season, that was the fastest car. It really showed that the driver and the team are not balanced, so they need to up all the things they need to do, especially with the team and with their driver. They need to work as a team. They need to work with understanding. I think McLaren needs that, especially understanding and teamwork. They need that to progress in this 2025 season, because without that, I'm not seeing them winning or putting themselves winning position, because one, they lack drivers that can do that, unlike Red Bull and Mercedes, and I would say Ferrari. Red Bull had won championship. They have a driver that won it. They've won with another driver before, which is Sebastian Vettel. So they have a proven team that can win, and they have a proven driver that can win. Unlike McLaren, it looks like an inexperienced team. The team that won with Lewis Hamilton is no more there, and these drivers are young. They don't really understand the winning mentality, so they need to bring that back and make this team a winning team. That is one of the things I believe they need to do. If they can get that done, improve on the development, make the car faster, and improve on that team, a really good job. That is for McLaren. Now to Ferrari. Ferrari with a new baby in the team. Who is the new baby? Lewis Hamilton is the new baby in the Ferrari team. Now, what does Ferrari need to do to get a real championship? Or should I say, what does Ferrari need to do to make themselves a contender? Now, Ferrari is having Lewis Hamilton in that team. That's a 7-time winner in Formula 1. Hamilton has driven for McLaren, won a championship with McLaren. Now, driven for Mercedes about 12 years. McLaren about 5 years. He has the mentality. He understands what a car needs to win. He understands how winning works. And he's working with Fred Vasseur, that had been his former team principal at when he was in Formula 2, I think, also Formula 3. He has worked with different people, have a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. So that being said, it shows that Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari have the experience. And Ferrari team, since 2008, they've not won, and they still have some of those team members. Is a family team, though they've lost that mojo. Coming second last season, coming second in the 2010 eras is also a way in which they would understand where their victory lies. So I think Ferrari has the potential to win the championship. And that being said, what do they need to do? They said they're building a new car, project 677 or thereabout, or 670. That project is really driven towards Hamilton. It's driven towards building a car that will suit Lewis Hamilton, because Lewis Hamilton has a specific driving style. They need to win a championship, and I think his driving style is also the same driving style that Max Verstappen has. Now, if you look at these two guys, they've been the only two drivers that have won championships in the last 9 years. It has only been Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. Championship, I mean World Driver Championship in F1. They have the same driving style. They want the front of the car biting, but not that the seat should be too forward. Now, the seat in the Mercedes that Lewis Hamilton drove in the last 3 seasons had been in front, which has not helped him. It has not helped him to fight for championship. He said, and I quote, "The seat has been close to the front wheel, that when you are getting to corners and turning, it feels like you are riding on the tire," which to somewhat to a driver, it will not be very comfortable for him. So I think that might be a project in which Ferrari had already, in which they are looking at driving towards. So putting up a car like that, they've employed some of the Mercedes team members that worked with Lewis Hamilton while it was in Mercedes, so they've hired some of them to come to Ferrari. With that, I think Ferrari are on the point to design a car that might possibly be a championship contender. And if they can give that same car to somebody like Charles Leclerc, who I believe also has that kind of a bite for a car that has a front bite, with the experience of Lewis Hamilton, with the experience of those that they've brought in, I think it should be a wonderful experience for Ferrari to challenge for championship. If they can have the car, the team build it more harmoniously, and they can work with their two drivers, that is Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, especially on track, so that they don't collide and keep giving them bananas. I think they are right up there, because all they need is to build the right car for Lewis Hamilton. Ferrari, in this past few years, it shows that they have the right engine. The engine is performing, unlike when we know Ferrari does not have the engine. But now they have it. I think it should help them in challenging for championship. I think that's what Ferrari really needs. Team harmony, getting the right car built with the right aerodynamics. They have everything. The wind tunnel, the CFD, everything is just in Maranello, so they should be able to work with that. Now, moving from Ferrari to Mercedes. Mercedes have been the biggest mix-up in the past 3 years. They've not designed a car that can win championship. They've only had the engine and designed a good car that can have the right aerodynamics. But in recent years, the cars they've built does not have the right aerodynamics. They've been worst set of cars, as in the aerodynamics is just wish-wash. Lewis Hamilton has complained the last 3 years about the cars they've designed, that this car, the aerodynamics is not working with him, is not. But they refused to listen. By the time they were trying to correct, it's already too late. He has moved to another team. And like Lewis Hamilton knew that they got second in 2023, this car they designed would not even get them second. But unfortunately, the car did not get them second. It got them 4th position in the championship. So I think Mercedes really need to build a car that can give them championship. If they can build this car to have the right aerodynamics, and they get these two drivers to give them what they really need, that is Kimi Antonelli and George Russell, can work together, because Kimi is coming in not just to replace Lewis Hamilton, to also show that he can beat George Russell. He's also coming in to tell the whole world that don't miss Lewis Hamilton if he leaves, because Kimi Antonelli can be the next Lewis Hamilton. Antonelli is also coming in to tell you that yes, if he leaves this team that he is now, that's Mercedes, Ferrari should be able to get him, because he's an Italian. So he has a lot to prove. George Russell has a lot to prove. He's a very good driver, George Russell. To me, he's not a talented driver. He has a lot to prove, to say, hey, I was able to beat Lewis Hamilton. Now, you've been able to beat Lewis Hamilton. He's on a platter of what and what. Is he going to come in and say, yeah, I beat Lewis Hamilton with that same car that we drove, owning to it that they were both driving a car that was not in perfect condition, and Lewis Hamilton was not driving all the season with his whole emotions and with his whole heart? So if Lewis Hamilton is getting a good car with Ferrari and he's having the same car with Mercedes, will he be able to beat that Lewis Hamilton? He has a lot to prove. I think George Russell has a lot to prove, so he's trying to come in to say, yeah, I want to prove myself. I want to show the whole world that I am there. You understand? So that would be a big ask for George Russell. So the team needs to work with these two guys to make sure they are performing well and they are up there, so they can get the maximum chance for championship. Now to Alpine. From 2023, they've had engine issues. They had a good design in 2023. Coming to 2024, from beginning of 2024, the car was not there. They were able to get points because Sauber had a good car, but they have tire wheel nut issues. So Alpine developed their car, and before the end of the season, the car was better, was far better, and was giving them good points. And that was why they were able to come 6th in the championship. So Alpine need to improve on from where they stopped. Now they're having Jack Doohan, which people are saying is on a 5-month contract or a 5 driving competition contract or whatever. If it's not doing what, they'll bring Colapinto. If Colapinto is not doing what, they'll bring whatever they'll bring. That should not be their issue. They should focus on how to give these drivers a car that will perform. If you have a car that can perform, then you can say, okay, this driver is not driving well, let us change it. So they need to improve on where they are in 2024, not the way they did in 2023 and they reversed. They need to work very well on their car, the aerodynamics. They have a good wind tunnel. Then they need to work with all these new investors. To me, Alpine has no excuse. They only have to prove to us that they have the right investment and they can deliver. So Alpine needs to improve on that and integrate Jack Doohan. Even if Jack Doohan fails in his first year, they need to integrate him into the team to make sure they give him a balance, and from there he can ride on. We saw what he could do in Dubai as he was integrating himself into the car just in one race. I think Jack Doohan could be a good driver, but if he's being given a good time, he will deliver. Moving to Aston Martin, that came fifth. Aston Martin 2024 was shit. As in, Aston Martin in 2024 to me was a no car. It was just everywhere. The first few races they were there, then from there they just went and they were nothing. So I think Aston Martin now with Andre Newey in the team, and Andre Newey will be able to start working around May. I think what they need to do is produce a good car. Andre Newey would have been working, I know. They need to produce a good car. They need to work on something, a structure, a plan to get that car into at least fourth position, in which I think they were in 2023, and that fourth position was great for them. So if they can give or churn out a good car that would give them the same performance, I think that would be great. They have their own wind tunnel, CFD. They're no more using Mercedes. So what are they waiting for? They need to deliver. They have their own Silverstone facility. They need to deliver. They need to use all those facilities to bring a good car so I can have a very good competition in 2025. If they are not doing that, I think there's nothing they can do. A lot of people are questioning Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll. Fernando Alonso is doing a good job. Lance Stroll for me is doing a good job, but he's not motivated because the car is not motivating him. Though there are sometimes I think Lance Stroll looks like a sports brat and is not performing. But I think if he's been given a car that can perform, he would do the job. And Fernando Alonso shows that 2023 that if he has a car that can perform, he can challenge for title. So I think if they can give these two guys a car that can perform, they will get the job done. If Aston Martin can get this done, it's going to be a perfect season. Now to RB. Promoting Liam Lawson, leaving Yuki Tsunoda, to me is a bad face for them, because Yuki Tsunoda had been, to me, one of the best drivers in 2024. He drove his life out. He gave his best to make sure he get promoted. Team also had a good, decent improvement, but RB cannot beat Red Bull. And I think Red Bull needs to leave RB to have their own development. If they can beat them, they should beat them. So if RB can focus on themselves, I think they can be in the competition. Forget about Red Bull. Yeah, they're taking some tools, which I mean engine, transmission, the rear, the this from Red Bull. I think if Racing Bulls can focus on themselves and focus on what they can give, they will deliver a good championship 2025. A lot of teams are already looking at Yuki Tsunoda for 2026-27 because that guy is performing and he's matured. He's really showing that he's matured. So I think this needs to be looked at. RB need to work by themselves, on themselves, not focusing their attention like they have been focusing on Red Bull and allowing Red Bull to control everything that happens. So they need to focus on themselves, and that will give them a good chance at the champion. Moving from RB, let me move to Sauber. Sauber is having two good drivers now, Nico Hülkenberg and Bortoleto. But Bortoleto is young. He won the championship in 2024 in F2, and that shows he can. But I think from 2024, the beginning, they had a good car, but tread issue, the tread issue of the north, and that really dropped them. And they fell hard, and from there, they were unable to really get up. So what do they need to do to get into championship? I think towards the end of the season, they improved, but the improvement was not more because there was nothing to improve on when you're having a bad wheel nut and you don't know where you really are. But now with the data they have to work on, they have to improve on the car. The aerodynamic is washed because it's the same engine that Haas is using, that Ferrari is using, and on Haas, we can see how the engine is performing. So I don't see the reason why Sauber will say they can't perform. They can't be a good midfield team. So they need to work on the aerodynamics. Not make the same mistakes they make last year. And with Nico Hülkenberg, they have with so much experience, they need to learn with him and learn from him, especially going to 2026, in which they'll be coming with their Audi engine. So I think that's what they need to do. More aerodynamics, learn from Nico Hülkenberg, integrate Bortoleto, and get themselves started up. Williams, they did a pretty good job, especially sacking Logan Sargent. I think that was one of the best decisions they've made. They had a decent car. They can improve on it with the new driver they have in line. That's Carlos Sainz. They already have a good driver in Thailand, Maestro Alex Albon. So having Carlos Sainz would give them a stronger belt, a stronger drive. So if they can work with Carlos Sainz and Albon, I think they will be able to give good vibes. They'll be able to put the car in a position in which I believe the car should be. They just need to add little things to the aerodynamics. We know that they don't have money, like they've always complained. It's a small team and the consortium have acquired them, but I think if they can add the little things it would help them to develop, which are more aerodynamics. They have a good engine, much more understanding from the driver, especially from Carlos Sainz that are driven in almost all the teams. I think they will do well. They're going to do very, very well. And to the last team, As team, I think As team had done a pretty decent job in 2024. Letting go of Gunther Steiner. I love Gunther Steiner because he's one of the most open guys. He says the truth. He says it as he sees it. And this is a guy that came from humble beginning. He was somebody working as a mechanic with Ferrari, rose through the ranks, and was able to speak to some top guys and was able to lead As team for years and did a pretty decent job. And to me, he's one of the good bosses to look up to, especially from where he's coming from. But now bringing Ayao Komatsu did a wonderful job. Ayao Komatsu, an engineer managing the team, he did a good job, and I think they can improve on that. What As just need to do is to improve. As having two new drivers now in Ocon and Oliver Biermann, I think is going to be a great progression for them. But they need to watch Ocon. Ocon is a very aggressive driver. Hope they are able to talk to him, integrate him in a way that he'll be able to work with Oliver Biermann, because Ocon can be Ocon. He can be very, very naughty. So if they can get these two guys working together perfectly, I think it's going to be a very good marriage for them, and that will elevate the team to the next level. If that team can get to their next level, I think there's nothing stopping them, and they can bring home the championship. Did I say championship? They lie. They can get into the top 6, I think, in 2025 if they can continue to progression and integrate Oliver Biermann into and this new guy Ocon, and make sure they're able to work together, not work against each other like Ocon and Gasly when Ocon was with Alpine. It really gives them a good marriage, and they can go back up like they started with in Formula 1. So that's what I think these teams need. I'll tell you what each driver needs to do, and from there we move to the car launch, and I'll still continue on the series that I started about grids, F1 grade 1 and grade 2 sites for racing. So we keep up with that. I love you guys. Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe, share, like. I love you. And don't forget to also put your hand, put your energy, put your vote to make sure we have races in Africa to make Africa great, because Africa is a great nation. Let's bring Africa back to the map and make sure we push for much more inclusivity, and also shun cultism. Stay straight. You are better as you are. God loves you. I love you. Goodbye. Cheers.